Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. Jerry, you know that I love to bop around in LinkedIn and learn about all of the great things in education, especially my feed is all about AI. There are a couple people that I follow, well, several in K-12. But there are a couple in higher ed that I follow because I think it's fascinating, because the instructional best practices should all be the same in both. And sometimes things are a little different in higher ed. And so I like to see what's happening and how it's working. And I am learning immensely from our guest today. So I had to jump into her private DMs and invite her. And I was so happy that she agreed to join.
I'm happy that you do bop around in LinkedIn because we have found the best guests. And I think you're right. This one's going to be wonderful because Michelle and I were talking before the show. And I have to say, the thing I love about her with AI is she's a practitioner. She's using it daily with students. And I think that makes a big difference. So welcome, Michelle. We are so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. And yes, my colleague Eugenia Novokshunova and I, we started building this class together after we had served some time making online templates for our department. And she called me up one day and said, I'm doing multimodal, you're doing AI, let's make a multimodal AI class. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And in a crazy summer, we built this, and then we started using it. And then we built an 1102 class. So composition 1 is 1101, composition 2 is 1102. And we built these two classes, and the 1102 class, we built in a crazy 10-day period over winter break. But we have been using AI almost every single day for the past year. And I've looked around everywhere, all over the internet, for anyone who has this experience, and no one does. So I think we just kind of jumped into it, and we were early, and we learned so much. So I was sharing a lot of that on LinkedIn, especially last year as I was learning. And then this year, as the year progresses, over the summer we were kind of quiet, but as the year progresses and we learn even more from our students, we'll be posting even more.
Well, Michelle, I'm going to back you up just 1 second here. So you're a university professor. Where are you, and what is it that you're teaching?
Okay, so I teach at Georgia State University Perimeter College. So we're the community college version of Georgia State. So we're under them, but we're also separate. It's really weird. Anyway. I teach English. My Ph.D. is in ethnic American literatures with an emphasis in African American, Asian American, American Indian, and Jewish American literatures. And I love technology. So I've been really involved in technology for a long time and learning everything I can about teaching with technology. I actually hosted a VAT camp back in the day for HBCUs and for historically Black colleges and universities. And Eugenia is an ESL professor, so she's very organized and focused and methodical, and I'm very crazy and hippie-ish and in the clouds. And so the two of us were like two sides of a brain. We came together and we worked together seamlessly. What she's good at, I'm not good at. What I'm good at, she's not good at, and everything just has worked beautifully.
And it makes sense that you're the creative type because here's what I'm going to say. I have heard a lot of stories about English college professors that teach composition and writing that are just so against AI. And so it must be your creativity that led you to be curious.
It was terrifying. On November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT dropped, I was already ready for it because I had already been playing around with ChatGPT 2 before 3 came out. And so I was kind of already playing with AI a little bit, but when that dropped, I remember standing in the hallway outside the philosophy department, begging my friends in philosophy, could you tell me what is the nature of knowledge? What is the human condition? What makes me human?
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh my God. You're having a gestalt moment,
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. So if AI can do everything in writing, then what is there for us?
Right.
So that is the question that Eugenia and I tried to solve by teaching this class. And we wanted to find out, what can our students do better? What can we do as writing professors with AI that is going to help our students? And the most important thing, we had two things going into this. The first is we want to make sure that we are student focused, not teacher focused. So yes, it's really uncomfortable for teachers to deal with this issue. Too bad. Okay. Go through your morning, go through your levels of mourning, all those bereavement levels and everything else. Get over it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we need to deal with this for our students. And this is really important for employers, and it's really important to the future of our students. They have to know AI.
Yeah.
So about halfway through the first semester, we suddenly came up with a crazy idea. Oh my goodness. What if our students are actually encouraged to write with AI? Like, what can they do with AI that they couldn't do without AI? And how can we make them sound human when they use it? So we started talking about this, and Eugenia is really good at backwards design, because I told you she's very organized. So she said, okay, well, we need to figure out what would employers want. So we actually came up with a list. If somebody is working for an employer and they use AI, the first thing they're going to want to know, the first thing the employers are going to want is that the student can follow instructions. Can you follow instructions carefully and detailed? Okay. Number two, are you transparent about your AI use? Did you tell me how you used AI and where you used AI? All right. Number three, do you sound human? Do you have the right voice and tone for the audience that you're trying to reach? And then, are you factual? Because AI will hallucinate. It'll create crazy situations. It'll make stuff up. And an employer is going to want to make sure that everything is factual. Our students need to learn how to fact check.
Right.
The last thing is efficiency. So can you move between different AI models, between your own voice and a voice that you might be working with that AI model? And can you be efficient in your work? So we started to put this into our rubrics. Now, this is the key. We never mention AI in our rubrics. What we say is, your voice doesn't sound appropriate for this situation.
Right.
Or you didn't follow our assignment instructions. You didn't follow the rhetorical situation that we asked you to put yourself into. Because AI won't follow that. So if they're just cutting and pasting from AI, it's not going to be able to fulfill their writing assignments.
Right.
And also, if it's factual, there's factual errors, we tell our students, you own what you turn in. This is called academic integrity. You own it. If it's not correct, then it's a 0. And if you weren't transparent with me, you can't rewrite it. If you were transparent, then, okay, you use AI inappropriately. Let's have a conversation about how to correctly use AI. But if you never told me you used AI and you're turning in something that is not factual and has the wrong voice and you're not following my instructions, which will big 0, no redo.
Yeah. So there's accountability that way. But it's also teaching them that they are responsible. They need to be vetting. They need to be making sure that if they're going to leverage AI, they're using it ethically and responsibly, but still making it their own. It needs to be from their right. And so you're giving them that opportunity without the demands and the rules, but instead giving them some academic freedom there, but at the same time, keeping a close watch to kind of guide them. You have those guardrails on there. I think that's a great approach.
Right. So, so we tell our students, look, there's a reason why certain types of the stuff that you learn in English is called mechanics. Okay, grammar, spelling, punctuation, it's called mechanics. We've always called it mechanics. So
Right.
it's mechanical. Let's hand it to the machine. Okay,
Mhm.
now let's concentrate on what is human. What can you do
Mhm.
that a machine can't?
Right.
So that's how we spend the rest of our time is in creative, in analysis, in evaluative stuff. So if you think about that, those are the highest levels of the Bloom's taxonomy.
Right.
So we're
Exactly.
pushing our students up to
Yep.
those heights. Those bottom levels of Bloom's taxonomy, they're going to be taken care of by AI. So
Mhm.
now we're all on the
Yeah.
same level. And what's really great is in higher education, we only have 15 weeks. Maybe we see the student 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week. All right. So we cannot fix anything that happened in their past. And a lot of our students are coming to us. They are ESL students. They're
Mhm.
students who didn't have a very privileged background. So they've had difficulty in school, or they were military families or migrant farm workers. They went around to different colleges, different high schools, different schools. Every 3 months, they were at a different school. They had no continuity in their education. So they come to us and they don't have really great grammar, spelling, formal
Right.
organizational skills. And then we have another group, which are these really good, gifted students, all that stuff. So, what do we do with these two groups of students in our classes? We've found that there's 3 ways to write with AI, and they're all okay. The first is that we have with our better students, our students who love to write and are really good at it, they do what's called a write first. So they write everything first, and then they have AI look it over, help
Mhm.
them perfect it, check their grammar and spelling, stuff like that. Okay, that's a common way that teachers want people to be using AI. We have also the second group that did not get this kind of privileged education. And so how can they write with AI? We call it AI first. So what they do is they put into the AI what they want to write about and ask it to put out an essay. What? Yes. So then they write over that essay as if it
Yeah.
were a skeleton. We want them to use their own voice, their own creative integrity, and use it just as the crutch that it is. Because right
Mhm.
now they're really
Yeah.
learning how things are organized, how things are put together. And they have a model right there, and they can use that model to write
Yes.
over. The
Yes.
third level is the highest level, and that's called selective AI. That's when the student can brainstorm with AI and then use it to help them with the first paragraph. Then they'll rewrite it. Then they'll enhance it. Then they'll go back and check it. And then okay, that's when you finally get to the point where AI is a tool. It's
Mhm.
nothing more than a tool.
Yeah.
And that's where we want our students is to be working efficiently with a very advanced tool.
That's so great because you're building in these scaffolds, and at the same time, you're leveling the playing field. You're getting students up to a level where, and like you said, you can't backtrack, but you can leverage AI to get them up where they need to be so they have the confidence and the skill to move forward and innovate, as you mentioned. That's beautiful. I love that. Those tiers. Love it.
Yeah. So, yeah. And this is what is helping our students so much because a lot of our students told us, and we also, I have to tell you, we really started teaching with scaffolded assignments and formative assessment because we finally listened to the educators who've known all along what was right. So as college professor, we finally caught on. Um, and so we're using these scaffolded formative assessments. All of our assignments are 10 points, whether it's a major essay or whether it's a discussion post. And the reason for this is they're all scaffolded. If you've done all the scaffolded assignments, when you get to that major essay, it's a continuity of all the things that you've already done. It's nothing really
Yeah,
new, so it shouldn't get more points.
exactly.
Yeah, so we are able to, and also there's no winner take all kind of assignment that encourage our students to cheat. They're not freaking out and cheating at the end.
I just wanted to throw on along those lines. I think this is brilliant because so many times those students that come in that don't have the mechanic skills, they are so upset when they get those papers back that bleed
Right.
with red ink that
Right.
we never hear their voice again because we have put them down so quickly. I think
you are elevating student voices from a variety
That's what we're
of
trying to do.
people that would not be elevated otherwise. I just think what you're doing is incredible. This is
You have
great.
to think about, like, okay, let's take, for example, an ESL student.
Yes.
Could I go to Russia and take a class in Russian? Should I go to China and take a college class in Chinese? No, I could not. I am not that smart. The students who are coming to us who are ESL, they're brilliant students,
Yes.
but they need to be freed from this horrible situation. So another thing that we use a lot is, of course, metacognitive reflection. So we use it in two ways. Every essay, we use what are called, and this Eugenia brought this into the class. She's amazing. I have to keep giving props to Eugenia because she's fabulous. I wish she was here today. She's ill. But we do reflective footnotes where the students highlight certain parts of their class, of their paper when they're turning it in, and they tell us about the process that they did to get there. So they're having to go through 10 reflective footnotes in 4 pages. That's a lot. But we want to know about their process. Why did you use this phrase and not that phrase? Why did you do this? How did you feel about that? So all of that is reflective. And then we have them doing a full reflective essay at the end, but it has to be evidence-based so that they're not pulling it from AI. So they actually have to be using evidence from their essay and integrating that into the reflection. What we found out from the reflection is they told us, look, we've been doing the same thing since middle school, over and over again, cycling with all of this stuff, with organization, with grammar, and we're tired of it because we haven't moved forward. What are we doing now? We're raising them beyond that, and they are now able to do what humans do best, which is, of course, those higher level thinking skills.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's so fantastic because that's really you're employing what K-12 does in instructional best practices with respect to the process of writing, right? A lot of kids, it's all about the one and done. And you really need to build in the importance of the process of writing and building in, as you mentioned, that metacognition so that they are continually thinking through the why. And you are prompting them not with the red ink that Jerry was talking about, but instead the continual questioning, asking them about their process, getting them to think about why they made moves the way they did, and pushing them further the way that they should. So that's all beautiful. It's so great. And I love to see that in higher ed because a lot of times it's hard. And I know that you have so many students at once, and it's really hard to get that personalized.
We don't have as many as you do, and we don't work as hard as you do. I'm sorry, but just you K-12 people are amazing. Okay. I give you all the props. We learned everything we know about how to do this from you guys. So take that. Say yes.
Cool.
Yes, we are.
Cool. So cool. Love it.
I'm dying to know how 2 groups of people responded when you started this. First, how did the students respond? And secondly, how did your colleagues in other departments respond to what you're doing where?
I got all teary-eyed when I was talking to you guys and how wonderful you are. Okay, so how did our students respond? At first, our students were afraid. They've been told by everyone that AI is just a cheating machine. They're afraid to use it. They've been scared. Now, this is not good for the future of their educational process. This is not the future career stuff that they should be doing. They should not be afraid of AI. And just because their teachers are afraid of AI, doesn't mean that we should be teaching our students to fear AI. This is wrong. So a lot of them were really afraid to do it. Then we got them into it and they started to really catch on. Then they started to realize that it really could be used as an incredible tool. So the students are amazing and they caught on really fast and they started working with this stuff. Now in 1101, in our Composition 1 course, we are teaching our students mostly narrative writing and a little bit of an introduction to research writing. We do an iSearch, for example, a 3-part research paper, kind of in the way that Peter Elbow talked about it in the 80s. So if you want to look up an iSearch, it's really great. Yeah. So we've actually been resurrecting a lot of old pedagogical theories because they work really well with AI. And then we in 1102, our Composition 2 class, we're doing research. And what happened with our Composition 2 class was astounding. When we taught our students how to read with AI, how to use AI to research, how to find and narrow a research topic with AI, which is always the hardest point. I'm so tired of them going to those online, pro-con sites and finding something for their research paper. We taught them how to actually find a research paper that they were interested in doing and to narrow the topic so that it was small enough for them to actually research. Then we taught them how to find sources and how to integrate the sources and how to write the really good annotated bibliographies and then use that annotated bibliography in their paper in a way that, so when you write an annotated bibliography, we had them doing 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is an introduction. It's just a summary of the source. The second paragraph talks about how this source is unique among all the sources that they have and why this source is important to the point of their paper. So when they write the paper, they have the summary paragraph to introduce their source. Then they give the factor source. And then that other paragraph that talks about why this source is important becomes the part after the source to explain why the source is included in the paper. So that whole scaffolding works really beautifully. We got papers that were probably junior and senior level research papers from our students. It was incredible. And when we went and we looked at the numbers, first we compared our students to our own classes before AI. And we looked at the level of higher order thinking skills that they used. And we looked at what their capability was of being able to research things and use them. We found that our students now had a much higher capability of doing that. Their papers were of much higher quality, and there was like a 10-point difference between the scores that those papers received in our evaluation. Then we compared them to papers in our department. We found the same thing. The students were clearly at a much higher level than we had ever encountered. We knew it, but we needed the numbers to prove it. And we were just astounded by the progress that our students made and how much they were able to do. Because, of course, there's that last point we haven't talked about, which is efficiency. So the students are required to do a lot more work because they have AI to assist.
That's incredible. We have a guest on, Guy Kawasaki, that's written many books, and he uses ChatGPT a lot now and has created his own, but he said he's already a good writer, but he said, this makes me better. That's what it does for me. It just makes me better. And now you have the research to prove it.
Yes, we do. I don't know when they will ever get around to publishing it. We submitted it 3 months ago, but we're waiting for the publication. The publication, unfortunately, is not efficient.
Exactly. They need a little AI.
They need some assistance with that efficiency point. But one of the things that we are really happy to say is that our students learned a lot more in our classes than they've ever learned. We can't imagine teaching without AI. One of the groups asked us to present one time on how do you teach critical thinking skills with AI. And we told them we can't even imagine doing it without AI. We can't even imagine that anymore. It's such a booster to our students' ability to do research that we would not be able to do it without it. So we've invented a couple things. First of all, and we just put them out in like a little guidebook. We just published it in Kindle. It's just a Kindle edition, and I'll send you the information for the notes.
Great.
But there's a couple things that we do with our students that are completely new. So there was what's called chain of density research that they did to see if AI could make a denser and denser summary, keeping the same words, the same number of words, but make the summary denser and denser by picking up elements that they hadn't put into a summary. So the AI starts with a summary, then it keeps adding elements until it's really dense with information, that summary. So we taught our students how to do that with their papers so that they could understand how significant it was to look at a denser and denser summary. And our students said they really learned a lot from that because they realized that all those details and how they fit into the paper when we did a chain of density study for this.
Yes.
Another thing we found out, and Eugenia came to me and she said, I'm tired of having AI as just an editor or an additive. Can we use AI to actually teach with, to improve our students' papers? So I wrote up a prompt that actually goes into any paragraph they write, and it will look for ways that the paragraph can be improved and ask the students to write that. It's in our little guidebook, but it'll say, for example, if they write a descriptive paragraph, it'll say, could you tell me a little bit more about the atmosphere? How did it feel? What was the light like? Explain it thoroughly.
Yeah.
Now tell me what the character looks like. What are they wearing? And it'll keep going through, and the student keeps adding and adding and adding. And then the AI just puts that information that they've added back into the paragraph. And then at the end presents the paragraph that they started writing and that they added to, but the AI just prompted them
That's so
more and more
great.
information. Yeah. And now we've got it working with research. So if there's a paragraph that they did and they've got a quote in there, we have something saying, well, you really didn't thoroughly explain where this research comes from or who this person is. Could you add that information? And it'll keep going back to them to make those research paragraphs much stronger. So it's been really amazing. And we just keep learning. Every day we learn more and more for our students.
This work is so needed. I was at a conference, and a girl was there that had just graduated from a master's program. And a student in the master's program had written something with AI, and they threw the student out and said he couldn't be in the program anymore. And she said, so we were told it was bad and should never use it. And so my point was, first of all, they're asking the wrong questions. It's not bad and you should use it. And then it totally ruined the trajectory of that student's life, throwing them out of a program. And so I am thrilled to hear that there are people like you out there embracing this and working with it and teaching students alongside AI. You are paving a path. We love it.
Well, thank you so much. Yes. The last thing I want to leave you with is if you're teaching writing with AI, you need to do two things. You need to fix your assignment directions. They should be very detailed and very specific, that you shouldn't just say write an analysis of, because AI can do that in a second.
Right.
The second thing is you need to rework all of your rubrics. Your rubrics should no longer have spelling, punctuation, grammar, organization on them. I'm sorry, they shouldn't. What they should have instead of that is voice, tone, audience. Did you follow the directions? Were you transparent? Yeah. Those are the things that should replace those things so that your students can learn how to ethically write with AI.
Keep the mechanics out and keep the human in it. So that's part of the writing. Yeah.
And that goes back to my original question. What is the nature of knowledge and what makes me human?
Yeah.
And those are the things that we constantly have to struggle with.
The practical applications that you have are they're so innovative, but they help others. I'm thinking that they're going to help others have the same practice that you and Eugenia are doing. And I think it's really generous how you are sharing so much of what you do on social media, and for joining us on this podcast. And also you have the book that you've written that's available digitally, and we'll have the access in the show notes.
Yeah, it's just a Kindle, but if you don't have Kindle, you can get the Kindle reader in your computer, and then you could follow all the links. So it's probably better that way.
Yeah, true. Well, keep leading us forward.
It's really our students that are pushing us, and we're learning from them every day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify, and subscribe to us on YouTube.